Well, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to the JFRC pre-departure orientation. We will be recording this presentation, so if you can just please mute your microphone so we don't have, or we have minimal background noise. Um, in addition to that, our office will post this video and the slides, and we'll send that out next week in your Go Global portal. So we'll send you an email as well when they're posted, so that you can use that as a reference. The presentation today is scheduled from 12 to 1:30, so we have lots to cover, but afterwards we will have time for any questions you may have. If you prefer to ask your questions in the chat, that's fine. My colleagues Adam and Abby will assist in answering those along with myself. So with that said, I am going to do some introductions. And so first off, I'd like to introduce you to the people that are here on the Chicago side of things. First is our Director of Study Abroad. Her name is Marley Stein. The next person is myself, Alana Carroll. I am your study abroad coordinator. I assist you with all the post-acceptance elements. And then the next two individuals are our assistant directors for recruitment. You probably have worked with them already. It's Adam Schilling and Abby Linneman. The other slide that I would like to introduce you to the team in Rome. They're not on this presentation, but I thought it would be nice to connect a face with the name so you'll know who you'll be interacting with while you're there. Elisa Assioni is the Assistant Dean of Student Life. Jack Spittle is the Resident Director of Student Life. And then we have our resident directors, Simone, Fiametta, and Amir. They're all wonderful and they are there to help you. So just an overview of what we're going to go through today so you have an understanding of the goals is this is a little more for the in-person, but an opportunity to meet some fellow students on the program. Perhaps you'll see a name or something that you might know that person and had no idea they're going. The other thing is to go through cultural adaptation, what that looks like and the definition of it. Wellness abroad, health and safety, including CISI, Title IX, the student visa and arrival to Italy, campus and student life while you're there at Rome. We have a slide also, the day in the life of a JFRC student, what that looks like. Rome resources, academics, course registration, preparing you for your program, and then next steps and questions. So I will hand this over to Abby Linneman, our Assistant Director of the JFRC Enrollment Management, and she will talk about cultural adaptation.
Hey y'all, switch up. I'm going to do this one. This is Adam, one of the assistant directors for the JFRC. This little section, I'll do the next 3 slides overviewing cultural adaptation and some cultural misunderstandings that might happen when you go abroad, understanding multiple phases of cultural adaptation, and then tips for managing those cultural adaptation and building intercultural experience and competence. Next slide. Thank you. So here we have a fun little tool. I'll actually drop.
Adam, you're muted.
I'm so sorry, y'all. This is a fun little slide where we can show you like some different like mindsets from cultural differences in different countries. I just dropped the link in the chat where we pulled this from. So you can kind of play around with different countries and different backgrounds to kind of give you an idea of things. This is not like hard set in stone or anything like that, but it should just give you an idea of like some certain things. Like in the United States, we are a little bit more culturally individualistic than in Italy, for example. There's a little less like uncertainty avoidance and indulgence and things like luxury items and stuff like that. So just kind of think about this when you're going abroad to Italy and how changes in the cultures you're used to might be different when you get into Rome. Next, I'm going to talk about like visible and invisible cultures. So it's kind of helpful to think about this as like an iceberg. So there's some things that you can kind of see from afar, like if you're looking at Italy, for example. So most of you are probably very familiar with like Italian food, maybe some languages, festivals, their flag, maybe even some music from Italy, things like that. But there are some other things that when we talk about like cultural adaptation that might be invisible to us when we were looking from afar. Some things like etiquette is a big one, norms, gender roles, thoughts of like the self, even, or like notions of modesty is a big one. So um, there's a couple examples to pull from, but really like Italians, for in my experience, a little bit more direct. There's not as much like cultural backlash to like being direct and like blunt with people. So that's not seen as like being necessarily rude or mean or anything like that. You kind of hear how it is in people's opinions. So when you are navigating Italy or talking with those local Italians in Balduina, just kind of keep in mind those kind of things that are going to be influencing that invisible culture and reflecting on those. And cultural adaptation, we define as the long term process of adjusting to and finally feeling comfortable in a new environment. There's going to be like ebbs and flows as you spend your time in Italy, kind of adapting to a new culture. There's different periods. And then my colleague Abby is going to jump in and kind of go over those on the next slide.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah. So as you guys know, I'm Abby. I did a semester abroad, so I can speak very from my personal experience about what that ebbs and flows looks like. So while you get there, you're so excited. You're like, oh my God, I'm finally in Rome. I did all the visa stuff, and you're so thrilled to be there. Which is that high. So you start off really high and then you sort of come down into a low as you start to realize this isn't the same as home. The currency looks different, the people act different, they might have less spatial awareness than you're used to, and you sort of become a little homesick. So that's that downhill sort of peak. And then as you go about your semester or summer in Rome, you begin to find those new highs as you uncover new things and you adventure on your own and you sort of build this understanding of immersing in that culture. Eventually, it's going to come to the stage of what we call acceptance. If you're there long enough, you start to adapt and integrate yourself into the local culture of Italy or Rome. You start taking on a lot of their behaviors and mannerisms. Eventually, though, in that 4 months, you will end up coming home. And so we like to say, as you come back to the US, the same things are going to happen. So you're going to get frustrated once again. You're going to realize things aren't the same. You're excited to be back at first, but then even though it's home, things are going to look different because things have sort of moved on without you. So it's important to note that while you're super excited about your study abroad when you get there, on the way back, you're going to go through that same sort of cultural immersion process, even though it's with the US, a place that you're familiar with. Um, this is a little graph that's going to break that down a little bit more. And as you can see, it very much ebbs and flows throughout your time there. Even if it is just a short 5 weeks, you can start to experience a lot of these feelings. Next slide. Well, I know a lot of us identify with a lot of different identities while we're abroad, and it's important to note and prioritize our emotions and who we are while we are there. So you want to think about your identity before you are abroad, and if you're part of any minority or community organizations here on campus, finding that support system is really important before you go abroad, and then identifying resources that are going to help you maintain your identity in a new location is critical as well. So make sure that you are finding that group that you can sort of find home to and those resources while you're abroad. We have some really helpful tools on our program brochure in the additional informations tab. I'm going to drop that in the chat as well. So that way you guys can review that. If you are from a different identity or community that is not the majority in Italy, it's important to do your research beforehand so you know how to combat and be prepared so it's easier to, again, immerse in that community. is the chat. Alana, you're
Thanks. Yep. Thanks, Abby. I appreciate it. If Dr. Keller, I believe, is next here, and he is going to talk about stress and stress management. Dr. Keller, I will move the slides along for you.
Yeah, you can go to the. Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Keller. I'm one of the psychologists at the Wellness Center at Loyola University. And it's always exciting to speak to this group. I've been an international student from Switzerland, and that's how I moved to the US. I've also lived in China, so I have a lot of experience with what it's like and what can happen when you live abroad and the stresses associated with it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And so what is stress? You can go to the next slide. So stress is basically our physical and emotional response to environmental demands. And stress can come from both positive experiences as well as negative experiences. So a positive experience might be a wedding, which can also be very stressful at the same time. And study abroad is exciting and positive, but as I said, can also come along with its own stressors. And typically the way that we are aware of how our stress affects us can be on three different dimensions. It can be physical. For example, you might be feeling more tired, or you might feel really nervous and your heart might pound. It can come out in emotional ways. So you might feel really sad, or you might be really irritable about some things. And it can have cognitive elements. For example, you might have difficulties concentrating or problems with memory when you're feeling really stressed. So it's important to kind of be self-aware about these things and recognize when you're stressed so that you can do something about it. Next slide. In terms of the stress that can come along with studying abroad, there's a lot of things that can actually contribute to stress. It's typically not any single one of these things, but it's sort of like the multiple things that happen all at once and result in sort of the countless small adjustments you might have to make in your everyday life that can increase your level of stress. For example, communicating in another language. Language is an important part of our identity, and when all of a sudden we're no longer able to communicate, we might feel like a child, and we might be confused about our identity because an important aspect of our identity has been kind of handicapped somewhat. Difficulties or changes in adjusting to a different educational system. That's maybe not so much the case in Rome because you're basically being taught by a lot of faculty from the US, but in some cultures, the educational system can be very top-down and students are just supposed to listen, which can be stressful, versus in the US, the educational system is very interactive typically. So when there's a change in that, it can become stressful. Making friends or dating people, ideas of what dating even means can be different in different cultures, or the definition of friendships can be different in various cultures. And so there can be stress around that. Feeling misunderstood due to different communication styles that can even be nonverbal things. For example, some of you may sort of know this gesture, which in the US typically means I'm okay. In Japan, however, that refers to actually money. And in Russia, it refers to the number 0. But in Brazil, for example, it would be considered an offensive gesture and would probably get you in trouble with people. And so sometimes you might inadvertently offend people without realizing it, and that can be stressful. Next slide. Other areas can be difficulties adjusting to different foods and customs. So, for example, in the US, we're very familiar with people are very sensitive to people who have allergies, and we can have all sorts of different menu choices in restaurants and indications of what's in the food. Sometimes that's not the case in certain European countries. And so it maybe creates stress. Do not be sure what you're eating and whether it's something you can eat or not. Finding a culturally relevant faith community is probably pretty straightforward in Italy, as that's not so different from the US. Experiencing discrimination, especially in cultures that are more homogeneous. Now, Italy is not entirely homogeneous, but probably somewhat more homogeneous than the US. So in those kinds of cultures, sometimes there may be less sensitivity to cultural diversity. And it can lead to people feeling kind of more at ease to use language that may be insensitive to you or maybe even offensive to you. And so there is stress related to that. And generally just feeling lonely, homesick, helpless, maybe fearful of your safety because you're not familiar with your environment, feeling even disoriented. As many of you may know, the US, for example, cities are typically laid out in a grid system, so it's pretty easy to get along and get around in an American city, where in Europe, the streets are oftentimes going all different angles, and it's not on a grid, so even finding your way can be challenging. And so this could be another small thing that might cause you have some stress. Next slide. So what do we watch for in terms of stress? You want to kind of be mindful about if you're all of a sudden experiencing prolonged and intensive sad moods or irritable moods that stay around for weeks maybe, or maybe even for longer periods of time. Pronounced changes in eating and sleeping habits, losing your appetite, excessive anxiety or worrying. You find yourself not enjoying things anymore, but constantly worrying about things, your safety or how your interactions go, and then maybe withdrawing as a result of that, which can be problematic. Obviously, physical illness. In more extreme cases, maybe even developing thoughts, self-destructive thoughts, suicidal thoughts, or violent thoughts towards other people. And then, of course, alcohol or drug use, sometimes that can become a coping mechanisms for some people under stress. And that, of course, undermines being able to deal with stress in a healthy way and may actually even make things worse. So kind of when you're noticing some of these things, it may be time to start considering reaching out for help. Next slide. Stress management. What can you do to actually manage stress? And maybe that actually starts with even just your own attitude towards stress. Many people consider stress a negative thing, but actually, if we weren't stressed at all, we probably wouldn't be learning anything. And basically, if there is no stress whatsoever, we would probably be dead. So there's useful aspects of stress and healthy aspects of stress, and shifting your attitude from, oh, this is just a terrible thing that I'm stressed, to, no, maybe it's an opportunity for me to learn something, can be one way of actually managing stress. Being patient with yourself, obviously, give yourself permission to feel bad at times. It's okay to make mistakes, being patient with yourself in that sense, staying away from judgment, being open-minded, staying open-minded, maybe remembering and what your personal goals and strengths are, and being really intentional about that. Sometimes I have recommended to people to write a letter to yourself before you go abroad, and maybe write to yourself about what are the reasons why I'm actually doing this. And then when you are in Rome and you may have a period that's stressful or you're feeling bad, it may be a time to open that letter and to actually remind yourself of what your initial goals were. And that can help improve your mood and the stress level. See the adventure of things, take risks in small steps. Obviously make friends with not only students from here, from home, but hopefully also with local students and local people in Italy. When you're homesick, sometimes it can help to have bring something with you along from your own cultural heritage that maybe you can kind of share with people and can be a reminder of home, but also be open to kind of receiving different cultural things from people abroad. Letting yourself laugh and cry. And your whole attitude towards your emotions may be helpful. So that's where not judging yourself comes in again. Sometimes when people start being really critical about how you feel, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or this is the wrong way to feel this way, this actually tends to kind of prolong the mood or the feeling you're in. Whereas if you just let yourself go through the emotions that you're feeling and be more accepting of them, you're probably going to be done with a negative emotion more quickly than if you fight against it. Thank you. Also, I want to mention something here about the fear of missing out, which can sometimes be a problem. Sometimes when you're abroad, you want to sort of travel everywhere, go where all your friends go, take weekend trips to Amsterdam and so on. And sometimes it's useful to kind of maybe decide that you're going to stay back from some activities so that you can kind of recuperate from some things and manage your stress better, as opposed to needing to keep up with everyone and then getting stressed out in the process. Participate obviously in campus activities, know what the activities and organizations are at the place where you're going. Keep a good balance of work and fun and maintain healthy daily behaviors. Develop routines. That's typically one of the best things that can guard against homesickness. If you're sort of having certain routines in your life, regular routines, then that can kind of help you have some predictability in your life. So if you're in the US, for example, used to maybe always watch a TV show every Thursday night with your friends, then maybe this is a habit or a routine you might want to develop in Italy so that you have something that's familiar, especially that could be helpful during periods of stress. Manage time effectively, deal with stress as it arises. Exercise, we all know that exercise creates endorphins, which can make you happier, and ask for help when you need it. The Wellness Center, obviously, you can reach out and we can be a resource. And what's nice about, and you're lucky at the Rome Center, given that they actually have their own wellness center there. And so they actually provide mental health services and medical services there, which is very nice. So they have psychiatrists there, and they have also a few therapists there so that you could have some therapy while you're in Rome if things become overwhelming. But you may even consider these services here before you go if you're already sort of feeling fairly anxious about going abroad and not sure how you're going to manage. You might use a few counseling sessions here before you leave and sort of develop some coping mechanisms and learn some tips about how to self-regulate. So that you're better prepared when you're going abroad. We can also give you advice about things like medications. If you are on some medications, you need to obviously speak with your doctor about being able to take those abroad. And so these are things that you should start thinking about early on. And if you have questions about that or need letters written, that's something important to ask your provider to do so that you're able, it's legal for you to take your medications. If you're a patient here at the Wellness Center and somebody's prescribing medications from here, we can also provide some of that documentation. And if we can help you ourselves here, we can at least guide you in the directions of where you can get some more help. So please reach out to us. And then building resilience, it's sort of the last slide. So by resilience, we kind of mean it's the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. And this is, again, something you kind of can actually already do before you go abroad. So all of us have gone through difficult and challenging moments in our lives, and it can be useful to kind of intentionally reflect a little bit about some of those experiences you've had in your life and what kind of helped you actually get through those and kind of remind yourself of those strengths that you might have and that you may have used in the past to cope with a difficult experience. It could be humor, it could be being persistent, it could be patience, it could be connecting with other people. And so being kind of aware of what your strengths are and how you utilize those, and kind of think through maybe a little bit about who might I be at my best in this particular situation that I'm stuck in, and what does my best look like if I rise to the occasion of this challenge, or reminding yourself that actually stressful moments in your life can enhance your life, that you can actually learn something. Obviously, we all know the expression, there's no pain and there's then no gain. So kind of reminding yourself of that kind of an outlook. Also, how can I use this moment kind of to grow, essentially? And so these are sort of some thoughts I have and some tips to share and some things for you to think about. And I hope you have a great experience while studying abroad and enjoy your time there. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Keller. We appreciate your insight. Okay, so we are going to move on to health and safety abroad, and I am going to start that off with alcohol and drugs. So, abuse and misuse of alcohol and drugs will not be tolerated. Local laws apply, but you are subject to LUC's community standards and code of conduct. So, in agreement with LUC's community standards and code of conduct, no alcohol should be consumed during academic or program time. Now, we know the rules and the laws are slightly different over there in Italy as far as like alcohol consumption. Their age limit or their age is at 18. So during that on-site orientation at the JFRC, the staff will go over what is or isn't acceptable at the Rome Center for that. In regards to alcohol and drugs, the majority of injuries and illnesses on study abroad programs is related to alcohol abuse. So, drug possession or use is definitely grounds for immediate expulsion. Breaking laws abroad can carry more severe punishment. So, you want to be aware of that and be conscious of your decisions. Alcohol and drugs can, as we all know, impair judgment, especially in a new or unfamiliar environment. So, one of the things that I say is, Italy has a lot of cobblestones and uneven surfaces. So, when you're consuming alcohol, again, it can impair your judgment. And you need to be aware of your environment and your surroundings. You could twist an ankle or something like that, or much worse. So, you want to be aware of those situations. We always say use good judgment if you're consuming alcohol. No moderation. Be with a group. Don't stay silent if you observe alcohol abuse by other program participants. We're not asking you to spy on anyone, but if you are a family in essence while you're there during that term. So if you see someone that is struggling and you feel like they really are abusing the alcohol, have a conversation with your RA, try to get potentially some intervention or help for that person. So they might be having a tough time. Uh, don't leave your peers alone and don't be alone when alcohol is present. So if you are going out to a club, there's four of you. You go into that club, four of you should be coming out together. Again, you want to look out for each other and you don't want to, common sense here. You don't want to put your glass down on a bar or table unattended. If you have to use the restroom, pass your glass to one of your friends that you came in with and said, please, would you look after this while I'm in the restroom and I'll be back. So again, the key is looking out for one another and keeping each other safe when you are overseas. Health and safety. One, we want you to visit your physician. We want you to discuss those important health accommodations and how you will manage these while you're abroad. Discuss your medical conditions, including your mental health, and how you will manage these while you're abroad. It's also important that you disclose any allergies or dietary restrictions. It is your responsibility to advocate within the country, as Dr. Keller mentioned earlier. Sometimes Italy may not have things readily written down on labels, or they're not as well versed in some of the restrictions for dietary needs or allergies. So, you're going to be your biggest advocate and ask those questions, but also with the Res Life team and through our office, disclose any allergies or restrictions you may have so that we can help you with that, especially with the Student Accessibility Center. We want to make sure you put that down on one of their forms. The other thing is discuss prescriptions and ensure you have enough to sustain you. Obtain medical name of your prescriptions in case you need to try and obtain them while abroad. Some medications require you to travel with a doctor's prescription or a letter from a physician. You want to make sure that if you are having medications go along with you, that they stay in the original containers. Don't take them out and put them in a baggie or something like that. That'll get you in trouble. So, make sure that you're keeping them in their original containers and bringing any prescription or notes that are associated with that. Also, we want you to obtain any necessary immunization. So having that conversation and visiting your physician to make sure that you're up to date. Also, when we talk about that, those necessary immunizations, you may think only about Italy. Please consider or think ahead if you are going to do any sort of travel outside of Italy. So, if someone is going to do a break and they're going to go potentially to North Africa or something like that, be aware of kind of where you might want to go and what additional immunizations you may need for other countries aside from Italy. And you can always consult the CDC website for further information. One other thing I just want to mention is with the prescriptions, you can contact, you all will be enrolled in what we call our CISI insurance, International Health Insurance. And so start to have those conversations with CISI if there is medication or things that you need, conditions that are ongoing and you need treatment for. So you can reach out to them, and a little further on in the presentation, I'll show you the number and where to locate that. You can reach out to their team assist to do some research on that medication availability in the country, legality, and to help source any local providers if needed. And we always say to kind of reach out to that CISI team assist about 4 to 6 weeks prior to your departure to allow adequate time for research and arrangements to be finalized. So these are a listing in the Chicago area for the travel and immunization clinics. I do know a lot of students utilize the UIC travel clinic. You can most certainly work with your primary physician for this, but sometimes these clinics have a little more information, so we encourage you to utilize some of them, and so we provide their locations and phone numbers and websites. And again, keeping in mind, I will be sending this out to you all, so you'll have access to these slides and these hyperlinks. All right. So health and safety. As I mentioned, do your research, review the pre-departure materials that we provide, stay up to date on any COVID-19 conditions in your host country. Things are pretty well taken care of in Italy now. It's not as it was a couple of years ago, but again, you'll want to just kind of check if you're going elsewhere too. Learn about medications, as I said, that may be restricted or illegal. Research the socio-political climate and other safety matters. And you can do that through some websites like the US Department of State, travelstate.gov. You can look for any travel advisories, any exit or entry requirements, or any country-specific health and safety information. That's always good to have before you leave. And then safety abroad. Some of the most common sense things are, always lock your doors and windows. Do not carry large amounts of cash. You're just becoming a high value target per se if they see that. Be careful with your phones and those other high value items. Don't be flashing things around. A lot of students, sometimes put a phone in a back pocket. I would not recommend that. Put it in a purse, put it in the front pocket, things like that. Definitely do not buy, consume, or sell drugs while there. Do not drink in excess or accept drinks from strangers. Avoid public demonstrations. It's great to get involved in activism, and if that's something you're interested in the host country that you're going to be, talk to the on-site staff. They would give you some wonderful recommendations for local groups that are involved in activism, and we want you to do that in a healthy, safe environment. So just keep that in mind. Never walk home alone or accept a ride from a stranger. The JFRC campus is located in a very safe neighborhood. But again, as we state, don't walk home alone. It's always good. Have a partner or a group that you're with. And so that's why we say travel in groups or look out again for each other while you're there. Walk with purpose. Be aware of the traffic patterns. That's always key. And then, lastly, if you are doing any travel to the coast, never swim in water with no lifeguard on duty. Obey all the posted warning signs. before entering any body of water. The currents there with the ocean may be much stronger than what we have here at Lake Michigan. So we just want you to be safe and be aware of that as well. So accommodation requests, this is what we talked about a little bit earlier. It is your responsibility to contact the Student Accessibility Center and complete their accommodation request form. We do have that within your Go Global portal. Just answer those questions and make sure that you are filling that out properly. That can include mental or physical accommodations needed, or even religious. We just want you to be successful in the classroom or in your living space. So it's important that if there are needs, that we're aware of that. So you will be assigned an advisor or a case manager that will put together an accommodation plan for you while you're abroad. So just keeping in mind, we do have some deadlines, and for that particular SAC request form, the deadlines for the summer term is April 15th, which is coming up in a matter of days here, and for that fall term is May 15th. So if we're not aware of these, we're unable to help you. So we ask that you do fill that out and that you're ready. Medical history self-disclosure form. That's a form that we are going to put in your post-decision tab. We're still kind of working out a few questions on that, so we'll notify you when that is ready, and then we'll ask for you to fill that out as well. On-site mental health resources. This is important to know, and we'd like to put this in the presentation. Dr. Amati is the on-campus psychologist and psychotherapist, and she can be contacted via email, so we present that to you. For any appointments while you're there, please attach your class schedule in your first email to Dr. Amati so that she can schedule things appropriately. And her hours are Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursday and Fridays from 9 to 5. And then Tuesdays 1 to 6. So again, you'll email her to set up an appointment if that's needed. And then there's on-campus counseling, just so you know, is free of charge, and the psychiatric visit should be paid by the students, and then you'd be reimbursed reimbursed afterwards by CISI. And we'll delve a little deeper into what CISI is and how to go through those steps for that. So emergency resources and procedures, this is always helpful to kind of have on hand as well. And so you may want to put some of these into your phone as we speak, or go back to the slide at a later point before you depart and add this. 112 is the Universal European Emergency Number. It's equivalent to 911. So that's important to have. The other one is there's on-site 24/7 Student Life Team Emergency phone number. So the resident directors that I mentioned earlier in the introduction, that team has this phone number, and they're on call 24/7. One of them, they shift, they have different shifts, but should something happen while you're out and about, that's a good phone number to have on hand that you can reach out to them. Also, the doctor that's associated with the John Felice Rome Center, he is on call 24/7, and you can call or text via WhatsApp to this number here. That's important. Again, if you're out and about, something happens, and you're kind of troubleshooting that, you can always reach out to both those numbers for some assistance or guidance. Lastly, there's an on-site 24/7 JFRC reception desk, and that's the number there. Sometimes parents like to have that number should they have any questions and they need to reach out and get somebody there on site. As I'll also show you later on, there's an AXA emergency phone number. It's on the back side of the CISI insurance card that you'll have. That's important should there be an emergency. If you're outside of the US, this is the number you would call, and they would provide some guidance as well. And this is in relation to like payment and opening a case and things like that. And then lastly, we have our LUC emergency phone number here. So minor illnesses and injuries. If you feel sick, see the on-campus nurse. If the nurse is not on campus, you can always speak with Dr. Guerrero, who is available, as I mentioned, 24/7 via phone, text, or WhatsApp. If you have, one thing I always like to prepare students for is if you have an in-person appointment with Dr. Guerrero, be aware that for that first time visit, you will need to pay and then submit the invoice for CISI for reimbursement. And so I believe that's anywhere from 100 to 140 euros. So just be prepared for that first time. Any visits after that, you won't have to pay right up front, but for that first time, you will, and you will be reimbursed. So, like I said, just make sure you have that invoice and you do a claim for that. For minor illnesses or injuries, if more specialized care is needed, you're going to locate a provider. There are preferred and non-preferred providers with our CISI. So the preferred providers accept direct claim payments from CISI. They have a working relationship already established. And so when you go to see that preferred provider, they will do the billing between the provider and the CISI. If you go to a non-preferred provider, you're going to want to contact AXA Assist, which is on the back of your card. And again, I'll go over a little bit more of this later on, but so that they can kind of help and potentially maybe establish a direct payment process right then and there. If not, as I say, be prepared. You may have to pay for some of those minor illnesses or injuries, the services at the time of treatment, and just make sure that you retain all the invoices, any documentation, so that you can submit that claim for reimbursement. And then for the major illnesses and injuries, if you have a medical emergency, seek help without delay. Don't worry about preferred, non-preferred, just seek help. That's the first thing. And then what we want you to do as well is contact that student life emergency phone number so that they can kind of help guide you through that navigate through that issue and crises along with Dr. Guerrero. And then, as I mentioned, after you've been like admitted, if you are going to the hospital for a major illness or injury, after you've been admitted, call AXA Assistant, which is on the back of that card, to open up a case. And someone can do that for you. If they're with you, they can open up the case on your behalf as well. And so with that, we should have Megan Tobin, who is the Deputy Title IX Coordinator and Equity Investigator, and she will be presenting. Megan?
Can you guys hear me all right?
We sure can. And then I'll just click on the slides when you are ready. Just let me know.
Perfect. Well, we can start with the first one. All right, everybody. So it's super nice to be here with you. As was already said, my name is Megan. I work with the Office for Equity and Compliance. And basically today, I'm just going to be telling you a little bit about our office and also let you know like what resources you have available. So these points for discussion, it's going to be pretty brief, but I'm going to go over our comprehensive policy, which you always have access to through our website, how to report, and the resources that are available to you. If you could click on the next slide, thank you. So yeah, what is the OEC? So our office is the office that implements the university's response to any violations of civil rights. So I'm an investigator. So my main job is that I conduct impartial investigations. Those are related to sexual misconduct or discrimination based on a protected class. Protected classes is anything that's protected by law. So we're talking race, gender, sexual orientation, age, anything like that. But the main thing that our office does is not investigations. It's actually offering support to students. The majority of students that we see don't actually want to take part in any sort of investigation. They just, maybe want to change classes. Maybe they experience something with someone in their class and they want to change their schedule. They want to change their housing, something like that. That's absolutely something we can do. You don't have to even give us a ton of detail. You can just let us know, hey, something happened, I'm uncomfortable, and I need support. And we'll work with you to figure out what support is the best for you in any sort of circumstance. Okay, so the best way to find out about our office is to review the comprehensive policy. So this is available to you at our website, which is luc.edu/equity. And that's going to be on the last slide. So you can take a picture of the last slide if you want to. But basically what the comprehensive policy is it just goes over all of our policies that prohibit sexual misconduct and discrimination, kind of describes what that may look like in different cases. And it applies to all protected classes, as I talked about. And it also applies to all Loyola students, staff, and faculty. And that includes anyone that's studying abroad. So if you do have an issue, know that you are covered by our comprehensive policy. And you can contact us if you have any questions about that at all, okay? So what do some of the things look like? I think a lot of it might be a little self-explanatory. I mean, people know what sexual harassment looks like. They know what discrimination looks like. One that I always like to call out is failure to accommodate for a protected condition. Some of you that are on this call may have certain accommodations with the SAC. If you're having any issues getting those accommodations while you're abroad, you can contact SAC. You can also contact us and we can help make sure that things are going how they should go. Also, if you experience something and you're not 100% sure if it is, sexual harassment or it is discrimination, maybe it's something small. There's nothing too frivolous, nothing too silly. You can always come to us and talk to us about it, and we'll look into it. There might be an underlying something that's really bad that we want to look into. So just make sure, even if it's something that you think is minor, you can come talk to us. So how to report. This is probably the most important slide. What you're going to do is go to our website, which is right there, luc.edu/equity. There's a big button on the upper right-hand side that says report. You just click it, you fill out the form. And that is something that you can do if you want an investigation, but also if you just want supportive measures. You just fill out that form. Someone will be in contact with you to see what your options are, to see what you want from reporting to the OEC, and that'll be coming pretty quickly. So you'll see that in your inbox pretty soon. And then if you have any questions about how to fill out that report, you can always call us, you can always email us. We're available with any questions that you may have. So what happens when you fill out a report? There are a couple things that always happen, and that's kind of what this slide goes over. So always you're going to get that outreach. You're going to get outreach either from us or the Dean of Students that says, hey, you filled out a report or you were named in a report as an affected party. Do you want to meet and go over your options? You don't actually have to. We'll reach out a couple of times, and if you don't get back to us, that's okay. You can always get back to us 8 months later if you so choose. There's no deadline or anything like that. But we want you to know what your options are. So you can reach out and meet with us, and we'll let you know your options. You can kind of work that out with us and see what they are. The other thing that's always going to happen, we're going to review the report that we get to see if there are any safety concerns, particularly towards the affected party or towards the university in general. So we just want to make sure that we tell everybody that that is something that happens, that we are going to make sure if there's anything that's like glaring, we're going to be looking into it in more depth to make sure that everybody's safe. And then if we get over to the sometimes side, over on the right, so generally making a complaint is going to be at the discretion of whoever the affected party is. They can choose whether or not they want us to look deeper into it, whether they want some sort of discipline for someone. That's going to be through the formal complaint option. The other thing that's over there is alternative resolutions. Sometimes someone just wants someone to apologize to them. Maybe they did something that both parties realize is kind of an accident, but made someone feel terrible, and they say, hey, I want an apology. That can be something that we can facilitate as well. So it doesn't have to be like a big scary thing. It can be, if that's not scary, but it can be a bigger thing. It can be an investigation, but it's not gonna always be like a by the book thing. We can do what the parties want us to do as well. So that's something that's available to you guys. And then I can go on to the next slide. All right, so this is the last slide that I have. I know that was quick, but that's my email. That's the email for the equity inbox. Does anybody have any questions at all? Okay, great. Thank you guys so much, and have a great trip.
Thank you, Megan, so much for presenting. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, so we are now going to go a little bit further into CISI. All of you will be enrolled in Loyola's mandatory international health insurance, CISI. This enrollment will happen about 1 month prior to your departure. And the insurance policy is primarily an accident and sickness plan. So it provides minor and major accidents and illnesses while you're abroad, medical evacuation, repatriation, security evacuation, travel benefits, and then there is like 24/7, 365 team assist, that AXA assistance for medical travel and technical assistance. With CISI, we just want to talk about a little bit, like I said, when you are going to be enrolled, what you will receive, tools and resources, how to use those resources, the claim submission and reimbursement process, and how to reach CISI. So I hyperlinked up here and you'll get that in the slides, but that's the link to the CISI insurance policy. So if you need or want to take a look at that prior to your departure, even now, you can do that. So we'll have that available to you. The study abroad office will do the enrollment, as I mentioned, 1 month prior to your departure. A welcome package will be emailed to your LUC email account, and that will come directly from enrollments@culturalinsurance.com. So a lot of students get confused and they think it's coming from our office or from myself. It is not. It is going to come from that enrollments@culturalinsurance.com. And so the subject line for that is going to be CISI materials. And I just want to make you aware that sometimes because it's coming from a different source, it may go into your spam or junk folder. So, like I said, 1 month prior to your departure, if you haven't received that, start looking in your spam and junk folder. If you still don't find it, reach out to me and I'm happy to have that resent to you. So what's included in that welcome package? You'll receive what is a participant ID card. You'll also receive a brochure. You'll receive a consulate letter, a claim form, and a link to CISI's Traveler app, and to their My CISI participant portal. So this is just an example of what that CISI ID card is. This is really important because, as I mentioned in many of the earlier slides, this talks about that AXA assistance or team assist. So here are the numbers that you have available to you. So if you are within the US, you'll do that 855 number. If you're outside, and so that's in regards to if you're talking about medications, legality, research, you can reach out now while you're in the US and talk to them about that and do the research. If you now are in Italy at the time and there's an emergency and something comes up, or we're talking about those providers that are preferred and non-preferred, you can always call them here. And this is the number, the +001. There's also an email here as well. So that's gives you an idea of why it's important to have the CISI ID card either on hand or, as I'm going to talk about a little later, having that app on your phone because you'll have access to this. This is what the My CISI participant portal. So this is something you would use off of your computer. So as you're going through things and you don't have the app on your phone just yet, you can always access and get this information. So this is good for, as I said, documents. It has IDs, the consulate letters, the policy brochures. It also, you can do a provider search. So if you are in Italy and you have to go see an ear specialist because you have an ear infection or something, that allows you to do a search within Italy, even narrowing it down to a city, and you can see who they have listed that's within their preferred provider section. In addition to that, there's contact info, like we just mentioned on the back of the phone, but if you're on your computer, you can also access that information here. There's also the claim forms, claim information. You can do that online here. And then there's resources and links. There's lots of information. So you can access all of that through the participant, My CISI participant portal. And then I always like to present this slide because this is just general how to reach CISI. Again, having that app on your phone, and we'll go through that a little bit later, is super helpful and accessible to you. You can use that participant portal, but then here, just in the early stages, I like to have this slide so that you can see that information as well. So any questions you might have regarding your benefits or a claim submission, you'll want to work with CISI directly with that. So talking about the registration and application, these are things that we want you to do early on. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the Alert Traveler app right now, which is one of the things that is very important, and it's within your Go Global. And so we're going to talk about, and I'm going to walk you through that Alert Traveler app. Then we'll talk about the STEP registration, and then we'll talk about that CISI app as well. So if you are able and willing to, as students, please pull out your mobile phones, and we'll kind of do a little interactive experience here to get that downloaded. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You can always reach out to me via email, and we can talk about what went right, what didn't, just to make sure that you're in compliance with that. But Alert Traveler app is a system that helps keep you safe while you're traveling by alerting you about incidents and events that may affect you. Alert Traveler provides you with the intelligence for that country and the cities in around the world, and it's a handy reference right in your pocket. So that's what I was saying. Everybody's using the apps. It's rarely are you without your phone, so it's really important that you have this downloaded because it can help you um, in emergency moments or when you're looking up information that you need to know about security or safety. So it also allows our office, as the study abroad office, to send you a check-in request when an incident occurs, and it allows you to respond so that we as administrators know you are safe. So if something happens in the country, your host country, from your itinerary, and we can push out those notifications as a check-in to make sure that you're okay. If they're like, let's say there was an earthquake or something in your vicinity. So it's nice in that communication. Please be aware that we are not tracking you 24/7. That's not our job. We don't have the manpower, so, be aware that this is only for emergency situations that we'll do that. So let's begin with getting this app downloaded on your phone. So I've provided some QR codes here. And so if you are an iOS device, you'll want to scan this QR code. And if you are an Android device, you'll scan that QR code. And so when you do that, you want to download the app, and then it'll open up. Make sure you open it up and then select allow for Alert Traveler and select allow for notifications, which will include some alerts, sounds, or icon badges. I'll give it a moment just in case you need to access this. So then from your mobile device, I want you to access your Go Global application. So I've provided the QR code for that. So using your mobile phone, also scan this QR code, which is going to take you to the Go Global, and I want you to open up your registration, your application or registration. And so from there, I want you to navigate down to your requirements, which is right here. You'll see that. And then what I want you to be looking for is your Alert Traveler outgoing material. And so I want you to click on that material. When you're on that material, you're going to see this. This is a screenshot of what's in your Go Global portal under your registration. I do want you to then click here to activate Alert Traveler. And essentially that is now going to pull up on your phone the Alert Traveler activation panel. And so that's what this is going to look like if all is going well. And then from there, I want you on that activation panel to enter in your mobile phone number in the required field. And then I want you to opt into the SMS messaging and then click save and log into Alert Traveler. This will direct you to your app and will automatically log you in. And once you're in the app, you'll be prompted to grant several iOS or OS or system permissions. The importance is allowing all of those permission is it's important because it keeps you safe and informed and of potential risks while you're traveling. So that's why we talk about that. Okay. And like I said, if that was successful, that's great. If it wasn't, again, we have those instructions in the portal for you to kind of follow. You'll get these slides. You can try it again. You can always reach out to me. And so we can help and assist you with getting that. The next item that I wanted to talk about with the registration and the apps is the STEP program. This is the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's with the U.S. Department of State. This is a free service to allow U.S. citizens and nationals while traveling abroad to enroll their trip with the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. You can receive important info from the embassy about the safety conditions in your destination country. It also helps the U.S. Embassy contact you in an emergency, whether natural disasters, civil unrest, or a family emergency. And it's also helpful for family and friends should there be an emergency stateside and they need to get in touch with you. So we encourage students to do the enrollment into that program. So what we have is, again, within your Go Global, we have a post-decision element, and one of it's titled Access U.S. Department of State. And when you click on that element, there are hyperlinks to the U.S. Department of State country information website and also the U.S. Department of State emergencies. Both of those links, as I mentioned, are really helpful to you as a traveler. And contained within those sites on the side are icons or buttons that say sign up for the STEP program or enroll in STEP. So you'll need to click on that. So here's an example. When you click on one of those hyperlinks that we provided in your Go Global, it'll redirect you to this site. And then on the side, as I mentioned, is that button. So you'll want to click on that to sign up for the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. And then it's going to redirect you to their website. What I want you to do there is then select this tile, which says traveling, enroll a trip, and get alerts. I want you to be prepared that when you do this, you're going to answer obviously questions about your travel plan. So, that information, dates and such, but also have your passport number handy because you will have to input that as well. So that takes care of the STEP registration. The last one that I wanted to cover is the CISI Traveler app. And you're going to say, wow, there's a lot of apps. Well, there's a lot of apps for a reason because they all help in one form or another. So this one is specifically related to the insurance. And so, as I mentioned earlier, this is great to have on hand in your phone should you need it for your documents, claims, looking for providers. So this CISI Traveler app is as I said, the on-the-go information for you as a CISI insured. So you would go to the Apple Store and search, if you have an iPhone, Cultural Insurance Services International or CISI Traveler, and you would download that and just follow the steps for that. If you are an Android person, your phone is an Android, you would go to the Google Play and search again for Cultural Insurance Services International or CISI Traveler and download. And so we want you to do those registrations. And if there are any problems, you can always reach out to CISI. Here's their number, and they can assist you with any of the downloads for their app. And if not, you can always reach out to me as well. I am a source. And so this is a great little visual aid to let you know what that looks like once you do have that CISI Traveler app. Again, here's some check-ins, itinerary, documents, things like that. One of the things I do like to say with this Traveler app is that if you plan to travel beyond the end date of your program, um, at Rome, you can go into this CISI Traveler app and extend your CISI insurance for your personal travel so that you have coverage. But please note that will be at your expense. The university has you for a start and an end date. So if you decide to do any travel beyond that, you can access and extend that coverage, but it would be at your charge. So I always like to say that little point to you. And so the next category we're going to go over real quickly is student visas and arrivals. This is great because I like to put in a last minute kind of plug for the student visas. We're hopefully in the middle of this, gathering the documents, getting that out. So because it is so time sensitive, I just kind of like to put a little plug in for that. So again, many of you have attended any of our 3 student visa workshops, which is great. We also have that listed in our Go Global brochure. So if you were unable to attend any of those student visa workshops, all that information is available to you. And we have the recordings and we have the slides. But just as a little refresher, students without a valid Italian or European Union passport will need to acquire a student visa. So make sure to upload a copy of your student visa into your Go Global portal. If you have an Italian or EU passport, please upload a copy of that to your visa section so that we are aware of that. And then aim to have your in-person consulate appointments before July 15th. If you're doing the mail-in option with Chicago, please aim to send materials in no later than June 15th. And as I mentioned, that recording and slides are here on the brochure tab, and this is a hyperlink to that as well. So for the student visa and arrival continuation, if you're landing at FCO airport, you'll navigate to customs and baggage claim, and then you'll start to look for the signs for the taxi cabs. There are licensed taxis. They are metered. They're yellow or white cabs, identified by a number shield on the side. Provide them the address of the John Felice Rome Center. I put that here to the driver. Most taxi drivers will know exactly where to go, but I think it's always helpful to have that written down so that you can show them where you need to go. That ride from FCO to campus is about 25-30 minutes. You'll be on the highway and then you'll be in some of the roads heading up to campus. Sometimes students will share a taxi to cut costs. The average cost is about 90 euros. So if you have someone that is on your same flight, you may want to pair up and split that cost and share a cab. Once you're on campus, you'll begin to check in and do the move-in process. And so students, later in the afternoon on the arrival day, there will be like a floor meeting and group dinners. And the next few days will be orientation meetings, academic presentations, study trips, workshops, etc. And I am going to hand it over to Adam and Abby, and they can talk about campus and student life.
Thank you, Alana. So where is the JFRC? Where are you going to be spending the best 4 months of your life? We are located in Balduina, which is about 20 to 40 minutes outside of the city center. So that's like the Trevi Fountain, Coliseum. So we're in a very residential area in Balduina, actually in the Monte Mario neighborhood. It is the tallest point in Rome, which is really awesome. So you have an excellent lookout from the sort of viewpoints and hikes that you take throughout the semester, so you can see the Vatican and the surrounding area, which is really awesome. So you are easily connected to public transportation that'll take you anywhere in the city and the rest of Europe. So there's 2 bus lines and then a train and a metro stop very much nearby. We'll have a map in a little bit to show you the area of Balduina and where the campus is located. But because you're in a very residential area, you have access to shops, restaurants, cafes, pharmacies, and running and hiking paths. So what that means is you are in a very immersive environment to really take in all that the JFRC has in store for you. What does campus look like? So we are actually the oldest American institution in Italy. We are very proud to have that honor. So we just recently celebrated our 60th year anniversary. So you are a part of a very large JFRC community, which is really, really cool for you all. But as an American style institution, what that means is you have a fully functioning American campus. It's basically like if you had shrunk Lakeshore campus here and put it on a 5-acre property in Italy. That's what you're working with. So you have a full dining hall that is open for lunch and dinner during the semesters, and during the summer, that's just going to be open for lunch. And then you have a cafe called Ronaldo's. Ronaldo's is basically open all day long. We will have these hours listed on a couple of slides in a bit. You have a library that used to be a chapel, so it's absolutely gorgeous inside with very comfortable beanbag chairs. And then you have classroom space and dorm rooms as well. And then you have a full staff that is there to support you. That's an IT staff, that's a librarian, that's maintenance, that's someone who cleans your sheets every 2 weeks. All that is there to help you during your time abroad. So those top images are the pictures of our on-campus dorm rooms. That first one on the top is what we call our new rooms. They're American style. So what that means is you're going to have your 2 parallel beds. There is a private bathroom split between you and your roommate, and there's air conditioning. The bottom picture is the one with the bunk beds. I like to say it's more European style. These are our original rooms. They do have a sink in the dorm, so that way you are able to wash your hands and stuff like that, because they are community bathrooms on that floor. And there isn't any air conditioning, so I like to say you will be breathing the Roman fresh air. It's a truly remarkable, fun experience. Our third option is a nearby hotel called the Zone Hotel. The Zone Hotel will host about 20 students. It is about a 10-minute walk away from campus. It's typical hotel living. So what that means is you're still going to have a roommate. You're going to have your parallel beds, a bathroom, air conditioning. The positive to the Zone Hotel is you are going to get more of an American style breakfast that the hotel provides, but there is no in-house laundry. So if you plan on doing any laundry during the 4 months, you will have to carry that up to the JFRC with you. So keep that in mind while you're there. You will have a roommate in all 3 of these cases. There are not any single options on campus. There are not any triples on campus. The student life team will end up deciding who lives together and where you will live. So make sure you do fill out that housing questionnaire and that housing preference questionnaire by April 15th in your Go Global portal. But campus is beautiful. We have a lovely olive trees on campus, tangerine trees, and plenty of outdoor areas that you can enjoy the Roman weather at. The cost is pretty much the same for our Loyola students. You will get an e-bill that is generated to your Locus account that is going to look very similar to your cost here on campus as is. And then for our visiting students, depending on your host institution, will decide how you are billed. You're either billed and will pay like Santa Clara directly, or you might have to pay Loyola. But keep in mind that your aid with your like merit-based scholarships, any FAFSA that you receive, that is still going to apply. We're an American institution, so we are going to still honor any FAFSA that you have. And then there are scholarships available. That scholarship deadline for the summer and fall term was March 25th. So thank you for everyone who applied. We should have those notifications if you did apply for a scholarship to you by April 30th, and that'll just get sent to your LUC email. While you're there, you have a beautiful student life team to support you in your time abroad. So they are going to have an even more intensive orientation when you get to campus. The first 2 or 3 days during the semester is all orientation meetings and presentations. So if you think this is a lot, just wait. And then for our summer students, that first day on campus is all orientation meetings as well. So make sure you are there the very first day on time, ready to go, ready to learn. When you're there, you are going to get to experience typical campus life. So what that means is you're going to have guest lectures, movie nights, karaoke nights. You're still going to celebrate Halloween. They still do that in Italy. And then over Thanksgiving break, they will make you a traditional style American turkey cooked by the Italians. So that's a really fun memory that you'll get to partake in as well. Our on-campus programming that I really want to highlight is Calcio. Calcio is soccer in Italian, and Calcio happens every Wednesday night. This is the best way by far to make friends. So even if you know someone already going to the JFRC, if you want to make more friends, this is the way to do it. You don't actually have to play Calcio. I'm not much of a soccer player myself, but it was so fun to participate. It is so fun to get out there and make new friends and really get involved in that JFRC community. So definitely, if you take away anything from this orientation, is go to Calcio on Wednesdays. There's other things called roaming around in Rome where you'll do food crawls, stuff like that. Study trips are hosted by our resident life team, and they typically take you to the places where they grew up. So Fiammetta is from Florence. She does a day trip to Florence, which is really awesome. Amir is from Naples. He goes to Naples with some students. So it's a way to see other parts of Italy that are from a local's perspective, that are your student life team members that you'll be spending a lot of time with. And then obviously independent travel as well. Class is just Monday through Thursday. So that means every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, please go up to Berlin, go to Amsterdam, go to Morocco. You are here to enjoy the Italian culture, but also the European culture. So make sure to go out and explore while you're there on the weekends as well. The next slide has our map of campus in Balduina. So that home where Alana is circling is the JFRC. That's where campus is located. If you go down and you find the bed icon to the left, Alana, the bed icon, that is where our Zone Hotel is. So anyone who is considering staying at the Zone Hotel, that is going to be that 10-minute, 15-minute walk, depending on our speed racers or not, to the campus. These green lines and red lines are going to be the bus routes. So those are our two major bus routes, the 990 and the 913. They are super reliable. Not really, but you will spend a lot of time waiting for them. Otherwise, students will start to walk. It's easier to walk downhill than it is to walk uphill. So all of this is pretty much uphill. So you can start the walk downhill, which is sometimes faster than waiting for the bus. But as you can see on the map, there's a ton of local restaurants, cafes, fun things to do around in Balduina as well to really take in that Italian resident culture. There's more fun things to do on the back. They will give you this map at orientation when you arrive on campus in the fall or summer as well. And then I'm just going to briefly talk over, that was hidden, or the day of a life of a student. So our student worker, Claire, actually was at the JFRC most recently, and she said that she normally wakes up, grabs that cappuccino from Ronaldo's, and then if you do have an on-site class, we're going to talk about on-site classes in a bit, she normally takes a good hour of transportation time to get down into the city. So do prepare for that in big traffic times like 8 a.m. in the morning. So you'll travel on-site to your on-site class, spend either then the rest of the day downtown or that afternoon if you don't have a class afterwards that you need to rush back to campus for to really take in Rome. Or you can stay in Rome and enjoy it. And then you can come back to campus if you don't have, if you do have a class, eat lunch in the Mensa, go to more classes in the afternoon. You could work out in our JFRC gym if you wanted to. And then you either can head back to the city if you wanted to explore some more, or nearby areas like Testevere. And then obviously you still need to do homework at night, hang out with some friends on campus. As you can see, she had a great community atmosphere while she was there. And then of course, Wednesday night is couch show. So of course, Claire was going to that.
Great. Thanks, Abby. So I'm just going to quickly go over a couple of resources here for you. And again, you'll have these slides so you can look at this, but this gives you the times and dates that the Mensa in the business office are open while you're there. Just one thing to say about the Mensa, again, please disclose any allergies or dietary restrictions you might have. Remember, it is your responsibility to advocate within that country, but we also want you to be aware that the food service is mostly Italian. It's going to be pasta, rice, soup, meat, fish, and vegetables. So you may not find on campus that international variety that you may be used to here in the US. So we want to make sure that of your expectations for that, and so that you are aware of that. And then talking about campus life continued, as we mentioned, there's Ronaldo's Cafe, so there's the hours and the days. Also the nurse, there's a nurse on site. There are the days and times for that, the doctor, and the psychologist. And then, as we mentioned, there is laundry service there on site at the JFRC. Each washer and dryer load costs about €2. As Abby mentioned as well, you can exchange your sheets, towel, and pillowcase every Tuesday from 1:30 to 3, and you'll get fresh set of that. There's a gym that's open Monday through Sunday, 7:30 a.m. to 10:30, and campus ministry. There's weekly mass on Sundays at 8 p.m. I'm going to hand it back over to Abby and Adam to talk about academics and course registration.
Thanks, Alana. All right, y'all, enough of that boring stuff about campus life and food crawls and calcio. Let's talk about the fun stuff, course registration. So this is a Loyola University of Chicago campus and program. Most of you already know some of this stuff, but we welcome any and all majors. You don't have to be a Roman history or classics major to come to Rome. So we want you here no matter what you're studying. The only requirement we really have in terms of academics is that language requirement if you're coming for a full semester. So if you are going to be joining us in the fall, one of the classes you for sure will be taking is Italian 101 if you have not already taken it before. If you've already taken it before, you're more than welcome to jump in Italian 102, or you can just skip it entirely. Just like here in Chicago and maybe at your own home institution, you'll need to take at least 4 classes to get the 12 credit hours for your semester. If you're doing the summer session, that's just 2 courses. But for the semesters, you can take 4, 5, 6 classes. Most of our students are just taking 4 to 5 classes. At the JFRC, classes are held Monday through Thursday. You can look at the academic calendar on the website right now and actually see the 1 or 2 days throughout the entire semester where you have to come to campus on Friday for classes, but otherwise you will have a semester or summer session full of long weekends, which we encourage you to do. Travel within Italy, travel within Rome, international travel, whatever you'd like. The course selection at the JFRC, we have a great selection of core offerings. So we have over 60 core classes offering during a semester. So if you do need 1 or 2 core classes to kind of stay on track with your degree, if you're a Loyola student, remember that those core classes are basically a third of your overall courses as a Loyola student. So you want to definitely knock out a couple of those. And then during the summer, we have 10 or 12 classes that you can choose from too, that are, some of them are core and some of them will be a little bit more focused. Our faculty at the JFRC are all Loyola Chicago faculty. A lot of them are international, coming from different places in Europe, Africa, Asia. But we also have some American expats that have been living in Rome for a while teaching there. So you'll have exposure to some really, really interesting, awesome, and cool professors. That guy pictured right here, standing next to that statue, is Dr. Sander Evers. I like to call him the Dutch Indiana Jones. He's an archaeologist by trade, knows a bunch of different languages, loves singing Mamma Mia when he's digging in the dirt in Sicily. So you'll have a lot of fun with people like that, professors like that. We're very well connected with the city of Rome. And a lot of our classes are taught either partially or fully on site. So I always recommend students, when they're looking to register for courses, try to find one that's going to be partially or fully on site. Like take that art in Rome class or that Roman Catholicism class. If you take Roman Catholicism, you're going to be taking classes like at the Vatican in St. Peter's Basilica. If you do art in Rome, you're going to be standing in front of statues like that or paintings in museums and learning from them firsthand. From your professor, who's like kind of like a walking encyclopedia of all things Rome. So I highly, highly, highly encourage you take those classes that are on site. Those on-site courses have course fees associated with them, which is basically like an extra $100 to buy like your museum tickets or entry fees, things like that. So just keep in mind about that if cost is a concern. For Loyola students, course registration is the exact same as it is here in Chicago. So that will look very similar to you. You'll do that through our Locus system. And you really just have to search using that with one filter, which is the Rome campus, and that will pull up all the classes we'll have there. We do have some special programs too. We'll have internships, which you can do for credit if you're doing a semester with us. We have the Global Health Program, which a couple of you might be in if you are nursing students. That's a program for nursing students in their first semester of sophomore year to continue taking 2 nursing courses in Rome. And then we also have the Ricci Scholars Program. So there'll be 7 Ricci Scholars joining us in Rome this year, who are doing a full long like comparative studies with 1 semester in Rome in the fall and then a 2nd semester usually in an East Asian country. So it's like a cross-cultural comparison kind of thing. And we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So when you are doing course registration, this is all going to be in Locus. So for Loyola students, this will be very familiar to you, but for the visiting students, you're navigating a new system, but don't worry, super chill, very easy to figure out. When you go into Locus, you can already see the classes that are being offered in the fall now by going to that sidebar and going to manage classes, and you can do a class search for fall 2024. Like I said, you want to go down and make sure you select the Rome Center campus. By doing that, you're only going to get courses that are offered in Rome. And you can actually also tell by when you search those courses in Locus and you look at their 4-digit course number, Rome classes are always going to start with A, the letter A, and then some numbers. So that's how another way you can kind of know like that's for sure a Rome class. Pick your classes. You can go to your shopping cart, select that session term, and then add the courses that you would like to your cart. So you can kind of like gather these courses before you actually go to enroll, and you'll add them to your cart, give you the 4-digit code, and then add those to your shopping cart for your classes. Grades. So grades will be very normal. All of you will be super familiar with them. They're automatically going to come back as letter grades. If you do want grades to come back for pass or no pass, go through the normal procedure for LUC undergraduate studies and submit a request in Locus. That's done in Locus. You can follow the kind of like through line there. You log in, go to online forms and help, pass and no pass, then undergraduate request. You can use this slide to come back to it if you want to just link directly to it. Just a reminder, if you're a fall student, do that within the first 2 weeks in order to get the pass, no pass moniker, or 1 week if you're a summer student. All of the courses you take are going to be for credit. So there's no way to get around that. There's no like we're not permitting anything that's like not going to be for credit. So whatever you take is going to be either counting towards a core requirement, your major requirement, a minor requirement, or general electives towards your degree. All right, this is a big one too. So as you go through course registration in Locus, there's going to be some classes like 2nd tier core classes or things like that that'll have prerequisites. You can't just like self-enroll with them. Write down this email. This is Carla Malika's email, cmalik@luc.edu. If you need any help with getting those permissions waived or overruled or things like that, or if you know you've taken a course that satisfies the prereq and it's still not letting you, email Carla as soon as possible. Carla is the Assistant Dean of Academics in Rome. Keep in mind, though, if you email Carla, she's in Rome, so she's 7 hours ahead. I tell students, like, if you want to email Carla like in the afternoon here in the United States, good chance if it's on a like Monday through Friday, she's going to get back to you like overnight probably. I mentioned this at the beginning. Make sure you check with your home institution. So for Loyola students, you need at least 12 credit hours to be considered a full-time student, and you're going to want to enroll in those 4 classes to get to that threshold. But check with your home institution. If you're a visiting student, Fordham, for example, students from Fordham University have to take 15 credit hours in order to be considered full-time, and that's in line with their own practices and policies. So check with your home institution, whether it's Santa Clara, Fordham, Marquette, whatever, see if they have anything like that, but they should tell you, and their study abroad, like our equivalents in their office should know. Last thing for sure, students can't take an online course that's like US based while you're in Rome. I don't know why you'd want to do that, honestly, unless you're trying to get your degree done quickly. But you're in Rome, take the classes in Rome. It's worth it. Don't try to divide your attention and take a class that's 7 hours behind you. And I mentioned internships. If you're doing a semester, this is something that can be really good. We talk a lot in Study Abroad about what just going abroad can do for you personally and professionally. And you talk about like visibility when you go to apply for jobs. And so the internship can be really useful, and not just for your career, but also for your personal development and interest too. If you do want to do an internship while you're in Rome, go to that website link. Our coordinator in Rome, his name is Nadia. She's wonderful, and it has a great portfolio of places and organizations, businesses that she's worked with before and has sent students to every semester. So she can kind of sit down with you and help you kind of figure out what institutions, what organizations, what companies a placement might be really beneficial to you. And she'll have a full portfolio of that. There is a short application for that. You'll do that prior to arriving in Rome. These are going to count, this class is going to count for credit. So you can consider it as one of your classes that you're going to enroll in to get to that like minimum full-time threshold. So April 22nd, is when the fall semester will open up for the internship applications. You can fill that out. You'll send all that stuff to Nadia, and then Nadia is going to get back to you and kind of like sit down with you virtually and get that all squared away so that you've already interviewed with like your placement, your intern placement before you even get to Rome, and you're going to be all set by the time you land in Italy. With that, I will give it back to Alana. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Adam. So just quickly, we'll go through preparing for the study abroad. These are a couple items we just want to highlight for you. Make sure to make copies of your documents, like your passport, your credit or debit cards, insurance card, important medical information. Make those copies either to have with you, like a physical copy that you can stash away in your dorm room or something, or make copies for your parents or legal guardians should something be lost. They have copies of those documents. In addition to that, in regards to money matters, I always say take money out in the local currency before you depart. Don't take large amounts, but I always say, you do want to have some of that cash on hand, especially when you first land. The cabs will take a credit card or that, but sometimes it's if you have the cash, it's a bit easier. So I say like $100 or $200, probably like 200 dollars converted over. So have that with you. Also contact your bank and credit card companies to let them know about your travel plans, where you're going, when you're going to be gone, so that they're aware and something doesn't get denied when you're actually in the country trying to buy something. Again, make copies of those cards and then have multiple ways to access funds. Do your research. So we have a couple apps here that talk about the currency converter, but also comparable costs as well. So you can see what's available. Sometimes the food items in Italy are much more affordable than they are here in the United States. So this is kind of a fun thing to kind of see that comparison. In addition to that, communication, this is huge. We always say, call your loved ones when you arrive, discuss a plan and expectations prior to your departure. about setting up a communication plan. This is important. Let them know that, hey, I need a day to get into Rome and get things set up, and I'll call you the next day or something like that. It's important. Otherwise, they're calling our office trying to track you down, and that's, just can get kind of troublesome. So set those expectations and discuss that plan. One of the other things is it's mandatory to download the Telegram app on your mobile phone before coming to Italy. This is an app, this Telegram app, that's used by the JFRC Student Life team. So please make sure to do that download prior to your departure. Lastly, bring a mobile phone with you from home with an international plan with your current carrier. So make sure you call and talk to that current carrier about what that international plan might look like. You may have to unlock your mobile phone and buy like an Italian SIM card at a local shop, or you may explore an eSIM for some of those newer iPhones. Some of the apps that are really helpful is the WhatsApp. I know my daughter traveled abroad, and that's pretty much how we communicated the whole time was through WhatsApp. So just be careful, lastly, about any roaming data charges while abroad. So have those communications with your carrier and find out what's the best plan for you. Packing and other tips. Make sure you have the correct outlet. It's an EU standard plug type, so do a little research. Make sure to bring something along for those hair dryers or curling irons, whatever you may need. Also, clothing, bring the basics. For semester students, plan on clothes for all seasons. So again, do that research. Find out what the average temperature is for the duration of time that you're there. It could be the rainy part of the year. It could be really hot at the beginning and it cools off towards the end of your term. Bring comfortable shoes. As we mentioned, there's a lot of uneven surfaces. So having comfortable shoes because you'll be walking everywhere. Lastly, do not overpack. You're going to be buying stuff while you're there, and so it's important you have access to laundry. So don't overpack because there's going to be things coming back with you that you purchase. Again, the JFRC will provide sheets, pillowcases, and pillows for your bed. You can bring your laptop, but there are computers on site in the common spaces and in the information common area. And then, lastly, the next steps review the post decision requirements in your study abroad portal. Visit your doctor and talk about the prescriptions and any on site treatments that might be needed. Do your research on that. Make copies of these important documents to leave with your family and to keep with you during travels, and then read all your pre departure materials. And then I will pass this over to Abby and Adam to talk about the JFRC social.
All right. If you are here at Loyola, if you are a Loyola student on our campus, we'll be having a little social, a little chance for you to meet and greet with your cohort before you guys go to Rome together. This will be in the Sister Jean multi-purpose room on April 24th from 11:30 to 1:30. You can go ahead and scan that QR code to register. Please register ahead of time. I'm getting some food for us, and we'll need to kind of get an idea of how much to order. So go ahead and register for that. This will be a very chill, like social event. We basically made this event because students wanted to meet with each other before they go. So this is a way to meet and greet. We'll have a Q&A. I'm planning on having a couple alumni from the JFRC there to have answer kind of questions student to student, so you can kind of get a good sense of what it's going to be like when you get there. And again, that's on April 24th, 11:30 to 1:30. So even if you just have like 15, 20 minutes, come by, say hello, meet some of your fellow future Rome friends, and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Adam. And then I'll leave this up for a little bit longer if you need to scan that code. But now we'd like to open up to any questions or concerns that you might have, and myself, Adam, and Abby can assist you with that. Well, either we've done an excellent job, um, with the presentation. Also, if you're not comfortable speaking out, you can always put it in the chat, and then we can definitely answer those questions as well. And then if you are short on time, you can always email us at rome@luc.edu with any questions you may have as well. And as I mentioned, I will send this video recording and the slides out next week, and I'll also have it on our Go Global brochure page as well.
Alana, there's a couple questions in the chat I'd like to answer.
Yeah.
For the summer fusion students, you will be automatically enrolled in your 2 courses by Carla Malika. So that should have already been done. There is 1 towel that is provided that is used for your body typically. So if you wanted to bring a beach towel, I would do that. And if you use more than 1 towel when you shower, I would definitely either purchase that there or get that there. You do not need a visa for the summer. For the plane reservations, for summer, you need to land on August 28th and you will depart June 21st. The Fusion, if you're on the Fusion program, transportation is included in the cost of the program. Students who are traveling over the summer do not need a visa at all. If you're in the country for less than 90 days, you won't need a visa. For any Fusion questions, we can send you the link, but the professor will be emailing everyone who's in the Abruzzo program about further information and having like a class meeting beforehand. For visiting institutions, grades should be letter grades, and they will be transferred to you. You will have to request a transcript though after your time is over. You need to be on campus for the summer program on August 28th. So that means you normally have to leave the US on August 27th.
I got this
Abby.
one, Abby.
Oh, go ahead.
Lily, for the Fusion program, you'll be on campus in Rome for the first 2.5 weeks. Then you all will go to the farm in the mountains.
Also,
Sorry.
Abby, I think you mentioned August 28th. That's for the fall and academic year students, correct? That's the
Correct.
arrival
I'm sorry.
date.
Summer is
So
May
for summer.
17th.
Yes, okay.
Amaya, it's not going to change your requirements, but just make sure that like you are accurately like representing your travel plan. So like put August 1st as your time of entry into the country, and that the flight itinerary that you submit to the visa to the consulate also shows that as well.
As far as Nico, make sure that when you're packing your luggage, anything that should go in a check bags would be those liquids that are bigger than those travel sizes. And any prescriptions that you would have, make sure your prescriptions are in your name, and not in anyone else's name. But typically, as long as you're following those protocols and protocols followed by the airlines, your bag shouldn't be stopped anytime overseas. Any other questions that we missed?
Just one thing, I think you might already know this, so I'm sorry if this is like repeat information for the Fusion students over the summer. Elizabeth Samari and the other professor Tom are going to be like going to set up a Zoom with you pretty soon, actually, to kind of go over what it's going to look like. So be on the lookout for that. Dates for Fusion. You're going to land May 17th, Abby, yes?
Yes, May 17th through June 21st.
Into Rome, and then you're going to leave June 21st from Rome.
Okay, great. doesn't look like there's any other questions. Again, if you have any follow-ups, you can email us at rome@luc.edu. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You got it.